All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to welcome you to our 42nd edition of our Radical New Bar Live weekly hybrid press and public engagement at the Uganda Law Society, and it is our honor to have you here today. We would like to thank the Lord for thus far that we have come and for protecting all of us who are here present. We'd like to bring special regards as well from the Secretariat, as well as to all those that are joining us online, especially the members of the society, but also very importantly to the public that is following us on the various social media channels. In the past few days, Kampala, as we all know, has been submerged, not just in floods, but also in so much grief, as much as anger, and so many unanswered questions, given the floods that have swept through parts of the city, in as much as we have been trying to follow on social media. We have all gathered that there has been a lot of losses, not just lives. As we gathered, there was a loss of lives of around 3 to 4 lives. There has been losses by the traders, in which there was so much flood in the downtown arcades around Nakivubo channel, and so many other losses that have been counted by the members. And what is making this very, very painful is that these matters have not been so unexpected, because there's been a lot of communication from the technocrats, there's been communication from the political activists and the politicians about the floods that have been bedeviling Kampala, and it is not the first time that we are hearing about floods. We've had floods from Chinawataka, we've had floods from Lubigi, and this time round it has come to the heart of Kampala at the Nakivubo channel. And of course, being the Nakivubo channel, those that have been to town and those that have been awash with the social media have realized that there has been construction that has been ongoing by an investor within the Kampala city, and there was also some little bit of grief as well as sentiments, negative sentiments about how it started. So tonight we want to ask ourselves, who is accountable, what went wrong, and what can be done to make Kampala city much more habitable. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Robert Benon Jurua. I am a legal officer in the Department of Rule of Law at the Uganda Law Society, specifically in charge of litigation. We are very delighted to have you here. We shall begin with very, very sincere apologies for our very unusual starting late. We don't want to take it for granted that we have very many members that have spared time to attend to us, both physically present and those that are online. Kindly receive our apologies. We have received communication from some of the panelists who had asked us to wait it out, but also have eventually not made it. So we would like to take the collective responsibility and apologize unto you and ask that you extend grace, because nonetheless, here we are, and we are started as it is in our mandate, Section 3 of the Uganda Law Society Act, to espouse access to justice and help the government administer justice. And these are the questions that we keep to ask ourselves. Can we have collective discussions about the matters that affect the citizens and the members generally? So today we are going to have a very intriguing question, a very intriguing topic, with very distinguished guests that are going to help us to undress, uncap that discussion, and see to it that we look into the questions that are being asked, the answers that we are looking for in as far as the lives of our citizens and the livelihoods of our traders. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Radical New Bar. Here we go. We are going to begin with a program that is going to start with an opening prayer that is going to come from one of our very own in the house, Maggie. She's going to lead us in an opening prayer to usher the Lord into this presence. We shall have opening remarks from the CEO, who is going to be represented by a member of staff, a member of the Rule of Law Department, because she is unwell and therefore indisposed. And thereafter, we shall be hearing from the governor of the Uganda Law Society, who is the moneybags in the house, and will be blessing us with his remarks in representation of the council. And thereafter, we shall be listening in to the panelists who are seated with us, and one of them who is online. I hope we shall be in position to receive the individual. All these individuals will be introduced to us later, and thereafter we shall have a question and answer session to hear from the members, to hear from the public. We know that the traders are out there who are very pained, because it has been painstaking to go through these past few days. Whether you are a client of a trader, whether you are a trader yourself or a relative, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you are very aware of what is happening. So we're expecting so many questions. We already have some of them that are going to be lined up. We continue to welcome everybody who has questions, because the answers are right here. And thereafter, we shall have a closure. Thank you so much once again for making time. We would like to begin the day by receiving Maggie to bless us with an opening prayer. Thank you.
Let's humble ourselves to pray. Mighty Father, we thank you for the gift of this day. We thank you, Father Lord, for Uganda Law Society. We thank you for the panelists that have come to discuss the issues of floods in Kampala. Thank you, King of Glory, for the council, the management of Uganda Law Society, the membership. Father Lord, we pray that as this 42nd RNB starts, Father Lord, may you reign in it, and may you give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to continue with it. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you so much, Maggie. The Lord is in the house like she has always been. This is our 42nd edition, so you can be sure that God got us, and here we are. We're going to listen in to the CEO, who is going to welcome us into the house, and her remarks are going to be read unto us by Gwenny Patience, Miss Gwenny Patience, who is a member of the Rule of Law Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm reading the CEO's remarks, who is unable to be with us this morning. Our distinguished guests today, Dr. Thaddeus Musoke Nagenda, Ms. Marion Chirabo, Mr. Alan Wanga, council members present, council members joining us online, and all members of ULS here physically and online. Members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Uganda Law Society, I warmly welcome you to the 42nd Rnblive weekly press and public engagement, where we shall discuss the recent floods that ravaged downtown Kampala, an incident that has left many traders counting losses, livelihoods disrupted, and many lives tragically affected. As the ULS, we don't take these matters lightly. Recognize that beyond the physical destruction, such disasters raise fundamental legal and human rights concerns, including the right to life, the right to property, and economic security. When citizens suffer loss as a result of systematic failures or lapses in public management, it becomes not only a humanitarian issue, but also a matter that touches law and governance. Our mandate under Section 3D of the ULS Act is clear: to protect and assist the public in Uganda in all matters touching ancillary to the law, and it is within this framework that we have convened today's discussion, to listen, to learn, and to contribute to a way forward that ensures accountability, justice, and practical measures to prevent such tragedies from happening again. We are grateful to all our guests, to all the affected traders who have joined us today, and to the various agencies that are represented here for accepting our invitation to this important dialogue. It's through such honest and inclusive discussions like this that we can identify solutions that uphold both the rule of law and dignity of every Ugandan. I encourage all our members who are joining us online to openly and constructively discuss and reflect on how legal, policy, and institutional frameworks can better safeguard our people and our city. Thank you once again. I wish you all fruitful deliberations.
What deliberations are going to be, Madam CEO? Thank you so much for your remarks. We really appreciate. We thank you for the warmth, and we take the blessing. As we move forth, Mr. Governor, I would like to notify you in representation of the council that we got apologies from the Lord Mayor, Honorable Elias Lukwago, who had intimated unto us by way of communication ever since the week began, as far as this function was concerned, that he would be present. We also need to notify the members that for the same reason that the Lord Mayor was not available yesterday, Thursday, which is the day that we normally have these sessions, because he was representing Dr. Kiza Besige in the High Court case that was the matter that was being had, we postponed to today. And as well, unfortunately, beyond his own control, he notified us late, a little late, hence the beginning of this function out of time. So, Mr. Governor, please be aware that the Lord Mayor is not able to make it. Also, Lord Governor, may you be aware that the acting chairperson of CACITA, Kampala City Traders Association, who had also intimated unto us, as you will follow from our flyers, to be available unto us, because these matters are really traders as well as government and policy. So, Mr. Issa Sechito had offered to avail himself to help to, make this discussion much more intriguing, because we have to hear from the traders and their representation. He, unfortunately, yesterday was amongst those that were apprehended and taken in by the police for allegedly inciting violence following some protests by the traders downtown in regard to distress and payment of rent. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will have to bear with us for matters that are beyond our control. They had been communicated to, they had confirmed their presence, but of course, as we've said, matters beyond our control, we would like to request that you follow us with the members that we have, because we have able replacements, or rather a team that was already confirmed their presence, and would like to ask that the ones that have requested absence be received accordingly. So, Mr. Governor, we would like to welcome you to render unto us and the members and the public your remarks so as to usher in the first panel discussant. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, the MC, for managing the function. To our guests present, thank you so much. We don't take this lightly. Dr. Thaddeus, we're really grateful for your presence. Executive Director, Madam Chirabo, thank you so much for honoring the invitation at the Radical New Bar. Of course, we don't take it lightly, the people sitting in, especially some of the affected parties. When you talk about the Nakivubo floods, we do have in our presence the market, the traders who are really affected by the floods. And as the Uganda Law Society, we stand together with you, and we shall give you all the necessary support, legal, technical, to ensure that at the end of the day, you can actually get justice. Justice must be seen to be done. Of course, in our presence, we have the media team from various media houses. We do thank you for coming in and offering to air whatever is happening here live to the citizens of this country. For those who are joining in for the first time, especially those physical here, we also do have an online presence of lawyers and non-lawyers who always listening to whatever happens. And of course today, the issue at hand is the issue of floods. We have a flood issue in the country. We have traders rioting, and of course we have the election period that is ongoing. As a society, we do observe whatever is going on, And in fact, especially in light of the Nakivubo issue, we have quite a number of advocates. In fact, some of the advocates have their offices on some of the buildings. Mr. Thaddeus, some of the buildings that were affected. And at least we are so happy that majority of them are giving out services, legal services. Majority of them have filed court cases. Quite a number of entities like UNATA, I'm told UNATA has filed a petition, CATA has filed a petition against HAM and Kim Enterprises. We do believe that once these matters are brought to the attention of courts of law, we implore the judiciary of this country to give them as much fast tracking in terms of adjudicating these matters, because these are matters that are of a financial nature, and we do believe that once they are heard and disposed of on a record speed, people will actually get justice at the end of the day. So on behalf of the Radical New Bar, especially the president of the Uganda Law Society, Isaac Chimazese Makade, does send his regards and does thank each and every one who is attending physically and those who are online. The question before us today, as the theme you have all seen, is a question of who is to blame? Who is to blame for the floods? Of course, in Uganda, there is always that narrative that we shift the blame to entities, especially the Nakivubo channel. Some are saying probably KCCA didn't do its job. Some are saying there was an executive overreach from the executive interfering with institutional accountability and management of affairs of their society. Others say it is failure to follow processes by entities. Of course, like I've said, it is who is to blame is the question of the day. That captures frustration of a number of and thousands of residents of Kampala. The question of who is to blame captures frustration of Ugandans. Ugandans are really frustrated. In fact, the services Mr. Thaddeus I'm talking about, the lawyers are providing, the vendors are asking, who should we blame? Should we blame HAM for building on top of the trench? Is it an act of God? Okay, fine, it's an act of God, force majeure. Should we leave it at that this is an act of God? Should you bring KCCA on board and say as the oversight entity of Kampala Capital City Authority, it didn't do its job? So those are frustrations of the residents, of the traders. The MC talked about the issue in Lubigi. Similar issue happened in Lubigi where people were evicted. The people who were evicted there had issues and concerns. We were evicted, but there were no notices that were given to us. So the same issue is happening in Nakivubo. People have lost their livelihoods. We have been seeing pictures coming in, videos coming in. We can clearly see that property of the people has been destroyed. We hear that it has even affected the lives of people. People have lost their lives. At least as of now, 3 people have been confirmed to have died in the floods that happened. And now the question is, especially during this rainy season, how long will this issue continue? Is it just a seasonal inconvenience? But probably people should keep strong until January when the rains will subsidize, or it is an issue of failure to plan. So, like I've said, the Radical Nearby is really aware of ongoing litigation of various stakeholders against entities. The Attorney General has been taken to the courts of law. Kampala Capital City Authority has been taken in courts of law by so many entities, especially the personnel who have been affected. And of course, this doesn't leave out entities like NEMA, the National Environment Management Authority, that is charged with the overall responsibility to regulate, supervise special activities that happen in areas that affect the environment of the people. We saw NEMA coming out strongly against people who are building houses in Lubigi and other areas that have wetlands. In this particular issue, the Nakivubo channel that was destroyed, we believe was an area that NEMA should have picked interest and should have come out comprehensively with a study, with recommendations on what should be done and what shouldn't be done. It is unfortunate that as we speak, there is no viable report from the National Environment Authority, the National Environment Management Authority, concerning the state of affairs of Nakivubo. This is really bad. This is really against the mandate that was actually entrusted to them in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. So we believe that we should take not only a legal approach, but we should also take a technical approach concerning whatever is happening in this country. It raises a deeper governance question. Like I've said, is it an issue of governance? Have the regulatory institutions failed to exercise their full mandate? And we really call upon all interested parties, all public interest enthusiastic people to focus onto this issue. We believe that through enforcing the law equally, we shall be able to restore sanity in this country. So we do believe that this discourse that we shall have, especially from the available panelists, will be able to spearhead and actually guide on what should be done, especially from a female point of view, from the executive director of the Women Initiative. I believe she will further elaborate on how and when should women especially come out in such important issues that affect their livelihood. We do believe that the person who educates a lady educates a nation. So with those few words, I would like to open up a discussion space, especially from our panelists. Like the MC has clearly said, we have got apologies from some of the panelists for today. His Worship, the Lord Mayor, couldn't attend today's session because of emergency engagements that came in. And of course, Issa Secheto, the acting chairperson, Kasita, has suffered what we call pains of leadership when he was arrested. He was arrested yesterday, and unfortunately we can't have him here today because he has paid the price of being the voice of the voiceless. So with those few remarks, I would like to say thank you everyone for coming, and let's have a fruitful and engaging discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Allow a bigger round of applause for our governor who has given us Awesome remarks. Of course, the Uganda Law Society continues to offer its support to those that are pained, because this is the house of justice. We have always engaged in public interest litigation matters. We have with us very, very astute lawyers ready for that, and we are also being very tactical in as far as helping the masses and the traders are concerned, because, well, we need to do a lot more research. There's been so many other rumors and other statements and sentiments about the contribution to the floods. It happens not to just be one entity, because as the governor has stated, there's so many entities that are engaged in this. There are departments of government, there are the technocrats at the KCCA, there is the judiciary, and as well as the landlords, who of course are traders, but as well the owners of some of those buildings. And there was also rumors that some of the drainage patterns were also diverted. So we're not just going to rely on one side of the story, and that is the purpose that we have this engagement, so as to listen to all parties, so as to know when to launch an attack and seek that kind of solution. So the government overreach, the political influence, the processes that have not been followed technically, who is to blame? These questions are very, very open. They are lingering in our minds, and we have come together in order to get answers. And one of the first people that are going to help us answer these questions is one who doesn't need to be introduced so much. He has been awash social media. He has spoken his heart. He's representing the traders in a way or another, because he has also been a part of them, and he is a leader, a business leader, and a transformational strategist with over 20 years of experience in business management, development, and urban policy. He previously served as the chairperson of Kampala City Traders Association, that is KASITA, where he championed the cause of Ugandan traders and entrepreneurs, working to create a more enabling environment for business growth. He also serves as the chairperson of Uganda Business Community Cooperative Society, UABC, through which he spearheaded the establishment of a business development fund and a business community support bank. A few months ago, he officially launched a new platform for business operators called the National Entrepreneurs and Traders Association Uganda, that is NETA, aimed at uniting traders and entrepreneurs under one platform. He is the chairperson of the said organization. Ladies and gentlemen, to answer these questions and so many more other things, please welcome with me Dr. Thaddeus Musoke Nagenda. This way, please.
Thank you, comrade. Good morning, members and the audience online, my fellow panelists, and the management of Uganda Law Society. My name is Dr. Musoke Thaddeus Nagenda, a former chairman KASITA Uganda, and now the national chairman or president of NETA Uganda, National Entrepreneurs and Traders Association. But also currently, I'm the spokesperson of National Entrepreneurship League, Kampala, and also the president of Kampala Development Forum. We are stakeholders get involved in the day-to-day running of the city, coordinating with KCCA. I want to thank Uganda Law Society for this great engagement and this unique topic. It's such a wonderful topic, and by the way, in a very timely manner. For sure, I've been sharing the poster for this engagement on different platforms for the trading community. On a special note, it's unfortunate that we had invited a very big number of the traders to be part of this engagement. Unfortunately, yesterday, most of them were arrested, and some business leaders were assigned to attend and follow up the court proceedings. But good enough, I'm representing the trading community. I want to go straight to the question, whom should we blame? The fact is, as NETA Uganda, coordinating with all other business associations, we thought of engaging and petitioning different stakeholders to pick interest and to see how the trading community can be helped. First of all, we petitioned the Ministry of Works, KCCA, the Office of the President, and also we have instituted a search for an independent consultant to make sure we can access a comprehensive report, which I think can be so important for this nation to avoid losses of life, property, and stock. On a special note, it's unfortunate and it's a very sad moment in the trading community after the unforeseen incidents where a lot of property, several losses over billions was lost. But again, on a special way, I want to thank the Lord Mayor. I was talking to the governor that when I was being invited on one of the talk shows on a certain radio station, I met the Lord Mayor on my way to the studio, and he told me, "Hey, Yumuiribi, I know you may miss my engagement, but the fact is, this is a very crucial matter. You may have desired to be a Lord Mayor." You know, comrades, I was contesting as a Lord Mayor in the NRM primaries. But what happened that side now? There is a saying, they refused to give me the card, but it's okay. Business as usual. He told me, no, you have to come. So I represented under the leaders where it was a unique engagement. That strategically the Lord Mayor invited the technical team and also the stakeholders and also the head of security for Kampala, the RCC for Kampala, where the engagement was so successful. And these are some of the resolutions where, on a special note, we thank the management of KCCA, that stakeholders should be compensated. And during this process, it was assigned that the director for gender should spearhead the technical team during the compensation process. For transparency, it should be the affected leaders to select who to represent on these committees. And we agreed that every arcade should select 2 representatives to make sure that genuine traders who lost property can be compensated. And also in that engagement, it was resolved that the technical team for KCCA should avail a comprehensive report. But our position as NETA is, why can't the Ministry of Works also be on board? Let the KCCA technical team be on board, NEMA be on board, and different stakeholders to make sure that the report is fair and transparent. But leave that aside. We think that having an independent report from a consultant as NETA also would be so vital to compare notes. In a special way, I thank Uganda Law Society. We have been partners. And when I was still the chairman of Kasita, we used to have very constructive engagement. Very constructive engagements. You know, the work we do is voluntary when you are serving such entities. But on a special note, I want to thank the management and the executive of Uganda Law Society for making my work easy during my tenure at Kasita. I think also this side we shall be partners and we move together. But also we are going to coordinate with the Association of Engineers to be on board. The more stakeholders get involved, the more Ugandans will be handled in a more transparent manner. But what has caused this? First of all, we are consulted as traders when they are constructing the Nani motorized road. Unfortunately, currently, even now, cars use that road. That stretch from Namirembe Road to Room Street. Basing on our knowledge, it seems the tunnels which were used or designed, they were narrow. Ever since the construction of that road, reconstruction, we started getting reports from Quarry Seraked. We started to get reports from Nabukera and some more buildings on Nabugabo Road. And by the most of the traders now are used to flooding. When I was talking to one of the landlords, because our concern was, are these buildings safe for our members? Can't they collapse and we lose more life? Because they can accommodate many lives. Unfortunately, basing on his argument, it was the problem is KCCA engineering department. We contacted them, but it seems they are reluctant to address it. And furthermore, when I was selected on the committee of COVID-19 to inspect buildings in the city for reopening of business, we formulated the procedures which the landlords and buildings should follow. Unfortunately, we discovered that most of the plans, approved plans, were altered. So what is the problem? That in the approved plan, there were outlets for these buildings because they were designed to accommodate cars parking. Unfortunately, they were modified into shops, blocking the outlets. It may be shocking, but it's true that even some toilets, they were modified into shops. Furthermore, you find that national water was blocked. And what is there? A lot of infections, mainly in our sisters, because of the hygiene issues. A lot of other infections, lung infections, because of poor ventilation. Then also sight issues or effects, because you know they promised us light, but a lot of darkness is around the country. So just try and visit those arcades when there is no power. So the more you stretch the eyes, they are affected. So because you try to improvise, you need to move around. So there are so many issues on these buildings and the city. And furthermore, these buildings, when they are constructing the foundation, they were not raised enough to create blockage of water flowing in the buildings. And some who tried to set up or construct the blockages were so weak that the water had to blow them, and the water had to access these buildings. So what should be done? An independent consultant can give answers to these so many questions which Ugandans are answering. And also, the situation was worsened by the development of Nakivubo Channel. At first, when we saw the plan, we were so excited because we need to beautify the city. And also, it was a security concern. You know, in town, there's a saying of a gari. For us who have been in police, we know a gari. Those guys, the Kanyamaze, so they could create a lot of insecurity there. So when the proposal was published in the news, we thought, oh, this is gold. But also, it's so funny that most of the traders were approaching me, please, can you talk to Ham? We need to book the shops. And I want to inform you that some of them, I'm sure they have paid. So some comrades were saying, can they block the redevelopment or the redesign so more Ugandans will lose money? So I think as we are engaging, we should find alternatives. Also the engineers of harm to be put on the committee. What went wrong? Can't we balance the boat? Can't the reconstruction move on as we avoid the floods? Where was the director for engineering and technical services at KCCA, Engineer Justice? Because they have to supervise. It's under their mandate. Yes, the president, some were saying, no, the president is to blame. But because he was convinced after going through the plan, and I think the presentations, but after giving a direction, who is supposed to supervise that harm implements what he presented to the president? Where was the laxity? I want to form comrades here and online. I was honored to be part of the team which was supervising these buildings with the Prime Minister this week. Unfortunately, we discovered there are some tunnels which were being unblocked. So I think the engineering department of KCCA, it would be so unfair if we base on only their report for this incident. We need a committee where different stakeholders are represented to make sure that we avoid the floods. And also, where we find that someone is the rightful person to blame, either the Lord Mayor or the ED or the engineering department. You saw what happened with Chitez. I think the director for public health was arrested. So we should not take these things for granted. But in a special way, since most of Ugandans have picked interest in this matter, I think justice will be attained. But also another concern which we have analyzed as NETA Uganda is that most of the comrades were excited when the government stated that the traders should be compensated. But you know, compensation processes take long. People have bank obligations. Some traders are total out of capital. Some already they are overstressed. So the process should be as immediate as possible. And also, we are planning to contract Uganda Bankers Association, the banks, to restructure the loans to avoid attaching the security or auctioning the security. But in a special way, I want to thank comrades who have been engaging the trading community and who are willing to provide the legal assistance, to provide even rescue services. But also we discovered that there is a lot of laxity at KCCA. Disaster response is zero. Disaster response is zero. That even the concerns of Ugandans about the fire brigade, that also their response. You find that we would have saved a lot of property, but the response is not timely. And that's why most of Ugandans, currently they don't have capital, they lost life because of that poor response rate. In a special way, I want to thank you for the audience, for God and my country.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for those words of wisdom as well as your remarks. We really welcome them. You have highlighted as a trader, you've highlighted as a leader with so many caps that you're wearing in regard to the leadership of the different traders and their associations therein. Of course, you have also intimated unto us where it is coming from, but as well, you've made it a little difficult for the lawyer to understand, because when you say that the floods were unforeseen, we wonder, because there's a principle while we're in school, Rylands vs. Fletcher, as far as a person using, putting into place something that when he knows that in case it escapes, it's going to cause harm to his neighbor. For you to expect that if you're going to put up such construction on a drainage system and that nothing will happen, that cannot be said to be unexpected. I'm just imagining what the lawyers are going to imagine, and of course it creates a space for us to think further as lawyers, because it is our role to also guide the public that might not be so aware of how the law operates, because that kind of principle and reasoning is supposed to settle the minds of the public that believe in the Uganda Law Society, amongst other entities in charge of looking after the members of the society, members of the public, in as far as their protection is concerned. But also the question that we want to continue asking is in the Constitution, Article 237, Clause 2b, that speaks into the government that shall be in charge of holding in trust for the people and protect natural lakes, rivers, wetlands, forest reserves, game reserves, national parks, and any other land to be reserved for ecological and tourist purposes for the common good of all citizens. That mandate that the government has been given cannot just be swept under the carpet, because we have heard very clearly from you, because you have also had chance and opportunity to interact with the government officials, to realize that there's been a mixture of authorization and correspondences. The letter from the president, the letter from the ED, the letter to the developer, of course we're talking about Ham, who has ably been seen to have, flouted the processes. I was listening to the ED of KCCA on Wednesday on that UBC show, and that question was blatantly asked unto her, and she said it right. They did their part, but Mr. Ham flouted the processes. So the question of who is to blame is not just going to be handled today. We, like we said before, are very open to fact-finding missions that are going to help us to, when we're supposed to launch an attack I mean basically using our skills and tools pursue the different entities, the government departments. We've had NEMA has not said anything. KCCA is, throwing the blame game between or among us themselves. So yes, we thank you so much for breaking it down and for bringing to the fore your sentiments as a trader and also as a leader of theirs. And we want to ask the question next to the lawyer who is in the house, who of course is representing an institution that stands out for, the voiceless among us others, but also for the women, so that we can juxtapose your discussion to hers, and then we shall be listening in to Mr. Alan Lwanga, who is online. I've been reliably informed he's following us, as well as Mr. Philip Karugaba, who is online as well, following us and has made known his statements. We would like to thank you for following us, that you've always done since we began, but would like for you members physically present and those that are online to listen into the next person, who is a lawyer by profession with a bachelor's degree in law from Makerere University. She is the executive director of Next Gen Women Initiative, an Afrocentric feminist transformative organization promoting gender equality in governance, leadership, and political participation. She is currently vying for the seat of LC5 Women Councillor Makerere. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Miss Marion Chirabo.
Hope everyone can hear me. Is it still morning? It's afternoon, right? Good afternoon, everyone. All protocol observed. Thank you so much, Uganda Law Society, for this opportunity to address the people on this crisis that is affecting us today. My name's Marion Chirabo, all protocol observed. Before I dive into my presentation, I want to first condole with those who have lost their lives in this tragedy. I also want to stand in solidarity with the traders who have lost their property, but also who continue to speak truth to power and have gone out to express themselves and the injustice that they faced throughout the crisis of this flood. I think for me, it's not just the issue of the Nakivubo flooding. We have seen these tragedies reoccur. It's not just Nakivubo, but every time there are floods, every rainy season, at least one person loses their lives, whether it is to a drain being, let me say, drowning in a drain, or any other tragedy that happens. But also beyond Nakivubo channel, it is also issues like Chitezi, that we saw people dying under a pile of rubbish, and up to now there seems to be no justice for those people. Yes, people were persecuted, perhaps charges were brought, but there hasn't been any real justice, and I don't think there's even any real plan to make sure that such tragedies are averted. We have been constantly taking KCCA, and there is legal precedent for this. There are legal cases. We have been constantly taking KCCA and government for these tragedies time and time again, but still it is not enough. We are continuously in the same spot. Perhaps even next year there will be another tragedy and the same thing will be, or the government has not done anything, or we are, KCC did not do its job. So it's a recurrent thing. It is going on and on and on, and there is no one taking responsibility. To me, who is to blame? Really, it is the impunity and the lack of the rule of law in this country. And we seem to have, how can I say, normalized that all we are going to do is that every time such a thing happens is that we are angry for some time, we give a few tweets here and there, and then we have certain legal discussions about it, and then it ends there until the next tragedy happens. And we move on and on and on. People lose their lives unnecessarily, people lose property, people lose their livelihoods, but we seem to be comfortable. And that's, for me, the traders standing up and saying, you know what, for this time, despite the risks that come with the protests these days, despite the fact that I may be locked up, but enough is enough. I think we as Ugandans should stop the lamenting, because we might be, and we are part of the problem. You see, when an oppressor decides that he's going to have his way with you, he will continuously do it without any regard, because it takes a certain level of heartlessness and wickedness for you to know that if I build a construction, if I construct a structure on this drainage system, that there's going to be massive flooding. I mean, this person was warned. We had letters flying around, different authorities coming and saying, you know, what he's doing is just a disaster waiting to happen. And we knew the risk. KCCA knew, the central government knew, but they went ahead. They did not stop him. They have been evicting people off wetlands. They did not stop him. Every person watched on as he continuously built, knowing the implications, knowing that people in the past have been dying because of this increase in floods during the rainy season, and no one lifted a finger. I think it takes a kind of wickedness for you to sit and watch people's property just being washed away, people's livelihoods being destroyed, and you do nothing. That goes to show us that the authorities in power do not care about us. So as the members of the Radical New Bar, and also as citizens of Uganda, it is high time we get out of the lamentations and know that we are on our own. Because by the time an executive director tells you we did not approve that plan, but they watched on as this person continuously built, that shows you that perhaps there is no one in charge anymore. Like, there is no one in charge, people can do whatever they want. There is a certain level of lawlessness, that and a presidential directive that does not have the force of law. And we have gone and legislated, we have gone and litigated about this, that is all he needed to start on the construction of Nakivubo channel. It goes to show you that we are on our own, and therefore as a citizen, we should stop lamenting and rise up. One of the ways we do that is, yes, we continue the legal activism, but it has to go beyond that. We need to fight back as citizens of this country and as city dwellers in Kampala, because that is the only way. We cannot just sit back and to continuously lament when these issues occur and then think there is some messiah coming to save us. No. We need to take agency as a citizenry and fight. The traders standing up and protesting should not be something that for the traders. As a citizenry, we need to join them and also show solidarity with them, because, I mean, downtown is used by all of us. We use those roads. It should be a matter of public interest that all of us should be involved. Let us not let this moment pass like we let Chitezi pass. We let down the people of Chitezi, but let's not let down the people of Kampala. I think for me that will be my opening remarks. Thank you so much.
Very striking and stinging, like is expected of a lawyer, not letting any stone unturned. She's asking us to rise up, but of course in a very humble way and not be unruly. The absence of rule of law, the lawlessness, and the fact that we are on our own. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget, this is the Radical New Bar, and it is from here that you have the freedom to speak your heart, as long as you're doing it within the realms of the Constitution. And we would like to appreciate Miss Marion for her statements and her presentation, which has been summarized just to show you that the blame can't just be thrown to the authorities. We are not going to continue speaking yet not doing anything. Let's come out of the slumber. It is time for us to speak with action. This is a public interest matter, and the Ugandan Law Society, like I said before, like the treasurer said before, is very ready to join hands and collaborate with the citizenry. The traders have showed us the example. Of course, it's going to take some little bit of pain to get justice. We're not going to get it on a silver platter, but the platform has been set. We cannot see Chitezi happen. We can't see Lubiji happen. And if you're aware as well, in Buko, in the Far East, there was also some floods. There's been a lot of floods that have been happening over time, and this is not something new to us. So the fact that it is not unexpected should be a wake-up call for us in the country. We want to thank you so much for showing us and pointing out the impunity that is being orchestrated by the leaders. You can't say that you, as a leader, as a KCCA, you can't necessarily say that you did not approve the plans, but when construction starts and you cannot do anything about it, let us be on record that after that you either did something or something was happening. Of course, the ED as well notified the nation that she sent her enforcement team, but it was, retarded by the military that is guarding the drainage. So there's just a lot. I have also been a victim. Doctor spoke about the insecurity from that place. Over 10 years ago, I was a victim while shopping downtown, because you also said that we use that place. I am also a user of the downtown streets. I was attacked by, of course, thugs. I survived. Here I am by God's grace, but that does not take away the insecurity that is spoken about. And we also know, while you're on that street, you're supposed to either be in a jean so that your phone is very well, stuck in your pocket. For the ladies, you're supposed to hold your bag like there is no tomorrow, because there's a lot of valuables in there. So we are very, very honored by your presentation. Thank you for opening our eyes. Thank you for speaking to the members. And I'm imagining that the members are most attentive, because after this being a public interest matter, we shall not say when, because our mission is to fact find. Get to know the players and get to know the shortfalls and get to know the key aspects that have been unforeseen per se, but in the knowledge that there was something that was coming. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Marion, for the opportunity to speak to the members, and would like to ask that God bless you in your endeavors as we look forward to the continuing collaboration in solidarity with the different entities. Ladies and gentlemen, we're still together. We would like to have the next speech or panelist. I wonder if he is with us. Mr. Alan Lwanga, he intimated to us that he's unable to make it, and being a digital transformation radical newbie, would like to ask whether he is with us.
I'm right here. I am right here.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Alan. We want to thank you, but the Alan we are talking about is a member of the citizenry, obviously, and he is a world stage consultant and a seasoned local politician in Uganda. He is vying for the Kampala Central Member of Parliament seat and was duly nominated as an independent. He is a former CEO, currently working on various projects in North America while maintaining his foothold on local politics in Uganda. He is also currently the local council chairman for Kontafrika zone in Kamocha 2 parish, Kampala Central constituency. He started out his corporate career as a banker with DFCU Bank and later with KCB Bank, and then eventually he went to UAP Old Mutual, where he rose to the corporate ranks to the position of head of distribution. He is a graduate in natural sciences from Makerere University and has since extended his studies in finance, marketing, and information management in various institutions such as PGC from the University of Westminster, the UK, a certificate in accounting from City and Guilds of London in the UK, a chartered marketing certificate from the Royal Institute of Marketing in Berkshire in the UK, and is currently pursuing an MBA in finance from the University of Edinburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me Mr. Alan Luanga. Thank you so much. You're most welcome,
It's an absolute
sir.
pleasure. I hope I'm audible enough for the public.
Yes, you're loud and clear. Please proceed.
All protocol observed. I know it's afternoon in Kampala. Good afternoon. I will go straight to the points, not to belabor some of the issues that have already been discussed. I think what our biggest challenge at the moment that stands out is the lack of transparency in our governance structure. If we are unable to, at this point in time, pinpoint who exactly is to blame for the challenges that have befallen the people of Kampala, there's a very big problem in our governance. Because if nobody is in charge, if everybody is in charge, then nobody is in charge. If we are absolutely unclear about whose problem this is, then we have a very big runaround, because everybody seems to be very busy, but it looks like nobody is actually doing their work. My biggest trepidation comes from, I think one of the previous speakers talked about emergency response time. It is unbelievable and inconceivable that a downpour can happen in the night. It goes on all the way until the morning. The traders arrive the next morning after the rain has stopped. The night has gone. It's now daytime. They are in their shops. They are carrying buckets of water out of their shops. I mean, to watch a video like that was the hallmark of a multiple organ failure of a system. How is it possible that the traders even got there before everybody else? How is it that they're trying to remove water from the underground basement of a building using buckets? I think even some of the things that we capture online, we need to, in hindsight, think about the kind of reputational damage that they do to our country, especially in the year 2025, surely. Emergency response services should have been on site during the storm. I don't know if they are even aware that they should respond during the occurrence of the storm, because that's the time they're supposed to come and use whatever disaster recovery plans they have, whatever whatever robust plans that they've been drilling about. They're supposed to drill. They're supposed to, during the dry season or wherever, or during their training, they're supposed to do drills. That if we shall ever have a flood, this is what we shall do. That if the flood shall be to this level, these are the things, these are the first 5 protocol steps that we have to take. I don't know whether that even happens. Because how is it possible that the fire brigade is just next door at the clock tower? This event happened right behind them in their backyard, and traders were using buckets. That's just mind-boggling in itself. Flood management in itself is not autonomous. It's not just one entity. It's not just one problem. I think the whole management of the city, especially in terms of urban planning, leaves a lot to desire. I think I've read a lot about KCCA, and there's a whole master plan, the 2024-2050 master plan, and how it's supposed to be implemented. But it all goes back to who is in charge. And I think the KCCA Act was very clear about who is in charge. This is supposed to be the Minister of Kampala, who unfortunately is right now vying for Member of Parliament as well. So the question is whether she has done her job or not, because that act gives her a lot of power. She has a lot of mandate within her jurisdiction to do so many things. That whole ministry, a whole ministry was set up, it is funded. I don't know how much it is doing to, first of all, execute the plans, to secondly, provide oversight, leadership, and governance, to provide direction of where we want this city to move to. This ministry was created as far back as 2020. And I don't know, it's 5 years later. I don't know how much or how busy it has been in terms of making sure that we have a robust city, which is their key mandate. How is it possible that we've just come out of Kitezi and then we have a very big challenge like this? So for me, primarily I would point the finger at the ministry and the minister, and I think there's about 2 ministers there, Chofa Togabie and Minsa Kabanda. I don't know how much they are in touch with reality. Now, I want to really talk about the running of Kampala itself, the capital city. The KCCA Act was created, I think, in as far as 2010. The idea was to give Kampala special status, special recognition, and possibly make it a better functional system, a better functional city for all of us. Remember, there's so many things happening to Kampala. There's congestion, there's rural-urban migration, there's people searching for opportunities. So obviously, it had to be pulled out of the rest of the country to be given a special status. The only challenge is it has suffered from a power struggle between the executive and the local government leadership. There seems to be a very big problem around the Lord Mayor, his council, being, opposition MPs and things like that. And all these challenges, when people sit down and think they are punishing an individual, when people sit down and think they are punishing a Lord Mayor or a position, they don't realize that they are stagnating a whole city. They don't realize how much they are holding back a whole city. Because why do we still have a Lord Mayor, an executive director, and these 2 functional arms? What are they still doing when the buck stops at the president? It looks like the president is the one who's running the capital. He's able to write a letter and say, give this to this person. So where's the input of everybody else? Where are all the multi-stakeholders engagement? And if that is the case, then maybe we don't need to have all this redundant, leadership in place. We need to get rid of it. It's just consuming taxes for nothing. Maybe we give the whole, the whole mandate to just the president to sit down and think for the city. If that is not the case, then we radically need to repeal or change the KCCA Act and take away all that power from the executive and have an autonomous city that is federated, that runs on itself. Kampala is grossly underfunded. Grossly. This is the city where the seat of power is, where the president stays, where the parliament is, where the key, the judiciary, the arm of government sits. How can we say that in the collection of the taxes, we collect about, I think our budget is 72 trillion, we collect about 30 trillion out of the 72 trillion that we're supposed to fund. But in terms of how much money is allocated for KCCA, it's just 800 billion. How can it's just 1% of the total collection. And mind you, 67% of the revenue collection happens in Kampala. How is it possible that we can just neglect the funding of the cash cow of the whole country? This is the gem, the prized gem of the whole country. This is where the money that runs the rest of the country comes from. How is it that we can just throw breadcrumbs at running it? We also have one particular problem which sits under intergovernmental funding, where government funds different entities, different ministries, different sectors and things like that. And then inside there, they think they're funding Kampala optimally or adequately. It is not fair that we should fund Kampala the same exact way as every other part of Uganda. And we have to be selfish about this. We have to be extremely selfish about this because this is the capital city. We must overfund it to a certain degree. Whether or not people will leave all the other parts and enter the capital city, that's another matter altogether. But the question here is, we cannot say that we are building roads for the whole country and then we divide that money equitably alongside the whole country. We must overfund the capital city first. So there's a very big funding problem that is not in touch with the reality. Now, when it comes to flooding in particular, flooding cannot be held as an entity of its own because it has multiple stakeholders involved. First of all, Where is the Ministry of Health in all this? With all this water that has flooded in Kampala, how do we know that in the next 1 week or 2 weeks we're going to have a cholera outbreak, a bilharzia outbreak, a dysentery outbreak? Have those people been consulted? Have they? Where are the experts who have come to assess the health challenges that have come out of something like this? When we go back into how the whole project was procured for HAM to build a channel there, that one is just an absolute disaster. It is a catastrophe. Where is PPDA? Who tendered the plan? What does it take? Even if they wanted to do a syndicate for HAM to make sure he gets the channel, wouldn't they try at least to sugarcoat and gloss it over and try and put a tender out there? People try and bid. I really cannot understand how lazy we can be even in our corruption. We are so corrupt that we are even lazy about the corruption. What would it have taken to put a tender out, have people try and bid, let us review the best proposals, and then somehow HAM at least is selected? What would it have cost? Because the processes are there, and they're very clear, and they're well laid out, and they're very well stipulated. The processes of tendering for projects are there, they're very clear. But what is wrong with following them? Why wouldn't somebody follow them? They would have required HAM to show capacity, to show that he has an approved construction company that's going to do a credible job, a company that has a track record, that has a constructors all risk policy, that has bonds of performance bonds. These things are actually laid out in the procurement process. Why are we floating those processes out of one letter being written? There seems to be a hurry to do mischief that is causing all of us all these huge problems. So inside there are so many people to blame. The IRA, for example, the Insurance Regulatory Authority, did they send their investigators to check whether this project is insured? The engineers board, this is not the time for them to just throw everything out of to throw away the responsibility. They need to come clear and tell us if the engineers on site were approved by them, and if not, why not? I cannot understand how the NEMA, the chief of NEMA, started locking out the Lord Mayor out of his office from a consultation. The Lord Mayor, in fact, the only person who has absolved himself from all this circus is the Lord Mayor. And everything is on site, everything is on screen, everything is in digital. He actually took it upon himself to go and try and meet the head of NEMA. And the head of NEMA, in a blatant show of bravado and political psychophancy, decided to put policemen to block the Lord Mayor. So fine, we have to understand what is his recommendation. What report did he write about all this? Now, there were members of parliament who went and visited this channel. I cannot even understand why they got a member of parliament from Kazo, they got another member of parliament from Chinoni to head the team to go and visit this project. Dan Kimosho, Daudi Kawanda. Why? What happened to the members of parliament of Kampala? By the way, we must go back now into parliament and again, this is about amending the KCCA Act or repealing it entirely and coming up with a new act altogether, to understand why a member of parliament of Kazo, a member of parliament of Kotido, a member of parliament of Maracha, what business do they have legislating for Kampala City? They've got no business whatsoever. If anything, the member of parliament of Maracha should be staying in Maracha. He should take a bus on Sunday night, come and attend his mandatory sessions in parliament, sleep in a guest house, and then finish when he's done with the mandatory sessions, travel back to Maracha and stay amongst the people of Maracha. And if by any chance he has a house in Chanja or in Chira, he must deliberate whatever concerns he has about Kampala through the area MP of Chira. He must not go in parliament and start legislating on behalf That is not his mandate. So we need to really, in as much as we have a very big challenge out of the KCC Act, we also have a very big opportunity, because inside there we can change so many laws that can help us to transform the city. Now, finally, for me, without also letting the trader go scot-free, who, by the way, I commiserate with, I wholeheartedly feel that they have got the shortest end of the stick here. It is not fair that they have to bear the burden. Uganda is, we've tried to get, litigation is litigation in Uganda, and I don't want to water down the efforts of the lawyers and all our land friends on the channel and in the institution. But with everything that is happening in Uganda today, I mean, your own president is in exile. If the president cannot get equity from the justice system in Uganda, how am I, just a usual regular guy from the ghetto, really going to get it? We do not see how many David Goliath stories there are in the judicial fraternity. We haven't really seen them. Justice is very expensive. It takes a very long time. It is very convoluted. The winding path around the whole process is just incredible. Sometimes justice is delivered and it is inconsequential because the damage down the line is way too much, and some people have died before being compensated. Some people have, bequeathed their compensations to people down the line. It doesn't really augur well. So I am not very convinced, even though we must pursue all channels of recourse, I'm not really convinced that the first point of call is the courts of law. I am one of those broken-spirited Ugandans who feel that the reforms are across board. We really have to have very strong reforms across board for us to have some trust in the system. But the trader should have also been sensitized on a few things of their own responsibilities. Because, for example, there is something called catastrophic loss. These are perils in insurance that should have helped any trader in the event of permanent total loss like this. If it is an occurrence that has happened to more than 10 traders in one area, there are insurance plans that would cover such a problem. I do not know how much awareness there is to the traders. I do not know how much extension the insurance companies have done in terms of bringing these people on board. I don't know how much the banks, which are lending money to these traders, have gone as far as bundling insurance products on top of the money that they are lending these people through bank assurance. So there is a problem of indolence as well. We really must commiserate and be very, very contemplative to the trader, but we must not fail to highlight the challenge of indolence, because some of this information is in public domain. If you know that you have a whole supermarket underneath a very big building that is flood prone, then maybe you might want to take out an insurance policy just in case. I mean, I've seen a whole store full of mattresses that go down a small winding path of stairs. If it is not a flood, there can be a fire, surely. There can be a problem of stampede and congestion and all these things. There must be some sort of sense of responsibility on behalf of the trader who says, I have 150 million worth of stock down inside a small tunnel. Let me at least pay a premium to protect this. So, in a nutshell, we have such a big problem to undertake across all sectors. The problem that we have is some of the technical people, the experts, the professionals have abdicated their role to armchair commentators, people who slide their phones to make comments and things like that, and they're keeping a lot of knowledge from the public forum. And what are we doing? The bravest and most bravado of us have taken up leadership positions. They are not even doing the work that they're supposed to do. They just go around jumping up and down with psychophancy and demagoguery. And we are leaving the country to just move in free fall. The country is just in autopilot. We are running a kiosk. Somebody wants orbit, you give him. The other one wants water, you give him. There's no plan. So those are some of the challenges that I want to highlight. And I really want to finish by saying I would squarely place the blame on the executive arm that is in charge of Kampala Capital City or Authority and it's the metropolitan area, and that is squarely under the Minister of Kampala. I thank you for listening to me, and I'll take any questions if there are anything.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alan. You have done us a very good thing to open our eyes in regard to raising some of those very pertinent issues, rather IRA, NEMA, KCCA, Engineers Board. You have also helped to know, for us to know that, well, it's really indolence. Like you say, it's like running a kiosk. Very absurd, very embarrassing, very shameful for us to be in a country this beautiful with so many natural resources only for them to be misused. The lack of transparency you highlight so much by showing that, well, if everybody is supposed to be in charge, then nobody's in charge. The blame that you've given biggest has been to the executive, which of course is in charge of running the country, but also in charge of running the city. You're suggesting that the city should be federated to run itself, because anyway, that will also be the technical bit that shall be challenged every now and then. And of course, the power struggles that you've identified between the executive, the council, and the different stakeholders within the KCCA, that of course is already something that shows a little bit of disorganization in the bedroom, for that matter. So it is really absurd. It's not something that we can only smile at. If you can say that the ED of NEMA blocked the Lord Mayor, who of course we have already stated has been unfortunate not to be with us, because we should have heard from the horse's mouth on the efforts that had been taken. And if we're hearing that the NEMA ED from you can block the Lord Mayor, who of course has been absorbed in what we have been seeing, information that is awash social media of how he, envisaged that this would happen, given the differences between the authorities in whether approvals had been issued and whether it was a right decision to allow Mr. Ham to undertake that construction, the indolence, and of course you say the justice system is not trusted. It's a little bit of an indictment, which of course is welcome, because we are also here radical, looking for solutions. One of the most unfeasible ones is the courts of law, but of course we want to continue to imagine that we shall not sit back. That is the purpose of these sessions. The purpose of these platforms is to engage with the members, engage with the lawyers, engage with the different stakeholders and the public, in order to have a collaborative and collective solution to the challenges which never seem to end, being that it is always a rainy season year in, year out. Thank you so much, Mr. Alan. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate your time. We are still on, and we are going to have a question and answer session. As you are expectant, we would like to hear from Ms. Namahe, who is going to be delivering a message from the President in recognition of the RNB voice in as far as this topic is concerned. Would like to have her read it out. Mr. President, we appreciate you for also following us. A lot has been said, but without your blessing for this platform to be, would not. We want to thank you once again, and we receive your message from Ms. Namahe in good faith and hope that it can be a message that will be received by the general public, because you are as well a public figure. We respect you, we love you, and we would like to welcome Ms. Namahe to read for us your message. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Sheila Namahe.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sheila Namahe. I'm an advocate and a member of the Radical New Bar. Warm greetings from our dearest president, Senior Counsel Isaac Chimaze Semakade. I know it's very cold in Canada, but we miss you very much and can't wait for your return. Okay, so this is a message from the Radical New Bar. Nakivubo floods, a legal wake-up call for Kampala. The recent floods along the Nakivubo channel in downtown Kampala are more than just a natural calamity. They are a reflection of a deep-rooted regulatory failure and institutional neglect. When the city's primary drainage artery is obstructed by unregulated construction and poor waste management, the consequences are not accidental. These consequences are legally preventable. The tragedy is therefore not just environmental, but juridical, a failure of law enforcement, administrative accountability, and urban governance. Traders in arcades lost entire businesses overnight. Families waded through waist-deep water to reach safety, and lives were lost. All this right in the center of Kampala city, and yet Kampala has no shortage of laws. Uganda's legal framework provides ample tools to prevent such disasters. The National Environmental Management Act, 2019, the Physical Planning Act, the Kampala City Council Act, 2010, to mention but a few. All these clearly prohibit development in drainage corridors and require environmental impact assessments before construction. Yet these provisions have been ignored or selectively enforced. Developers have erected massive commercial structures across the Nakivubo channel with apparent approval from the public officers, raising serious questions of legality, corruption, and institutional complicity. Legal intervention must therefore go beyond post-disaster response. It requires strict enforcement of existing environmental and planning laws, reform of outdated regulations that fail to anticipate rapid urbanization, and accountability for private encroachers and negligent public officials. Where regulatory institutions are weak, the courts must act as guardians of public interest. Public interest litigation under Article 50 of the Constitution offers a viable pathway for citizens and civil society to demand enforcement of the constitutional rights to a clean and healthy environment. We must remember the case of Environmental Action Network versus the Attorney General, where the High Court affirmed that environmental protection is a constitutional right. That judgment, and this judgment should not gather dust. It should guide our practice today. Going forward, a coordinated legal and policy framework is essential. The Kampala City Council Authority, the National Environmental Management Authority, the Office of the Prime Minister must work in concert to restore the Nakivubo channel, criminalize future encroachment, and establish a clear compensation mechanism for affected citizens. Enforcement must be revived. NEMA and KCCA must jointly inspect all development along the Nakivubo channel and demolish illegal structures regardless of the developer's status or influence. The Physical Planning Act should be amended to classify drainage corridors as permanent no development zones. And accountability must be enforced. Public officers who approved illegal building permits must be investigated under the Leadership Code Act. Developers who obstruct natural waterways should face criminal penalties under the National Environment Act. Such collaboration can transform Kampala from a city reacting to floods to a city prepared to prevent them, and therefore enforcement must be revived. Colleagues, Nakivubo floods are a warning. They remind us that environmental governance is not about committees or permits or reports. It's about justice, accountability, and survival. As members of the Law Society and the Radical New Bar, let us be the voice that demands enforcement, the advocates who file public interest cases, and the professionals who remind Uganda that the rule of law must, just as the Nakivubo channel, flow freely without obstruction. If we fail to enforce our laws, nature will enforce its own laws. Thank you very much.
If we fail to enforce our laws, nature will. Thank you so much, Mr. President. We would like to thank you, like we said before, for your very, very clear message, very summarized and hitting it on the nail. We want to thank you so much for the deliberations. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to honor what, of course, the President is telling us, because, I mean, these are really matters that we either know or have only fallen short of taking heed to enforce, because these issues are known to us. We are aware of Article 50 that requires us also to check the government and reach out in matters touching the law, that is enforcement, and of course the ignored and selective enforcement of these policies and tools, which of course leaves a lot to be desired, and the legal intervention that is required, which of course has to really start from the strict adherence and enforcement of the tools that have been created. So we want to thank you so much, Mr. President, for identifying these matters, identifying the responsibilities that have been put on the government departments, of course, NEMA, KCCA, the executive, the judiciary, and all the different entities that have been spoken about. We are very honored to have received a message from you. We do miss you indeed, because without you, there's a big gap, and we know that you are with us in spirit and in heart, and we pray continually without fail that the Lord be with you in your endeavors. We want to thank you for the leadership, even in absence, because we're still moving and rolling. We know it's going to get better. May God be with you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the discussions as far as the panelists are concerned. It is now time for us to go to the next agenda item in regard to the question and answer session. But before we go to that, we would like to, identify ourselves with the deceased. We are speaking about individuals that lost their lives. It's not something that we're only going to speak about. We'd like to take the honor to share a moment of silence for the individuals that lost their lives. We've done a little research, and the deceased were identified as one border rider by the name Ronald Nsubuga. We had a hawker by the name Sarah Namusoke. We had a mini price porter by the name Moses Kabanda, an unidentified male believed to be a street vendor. This is not something to be taken lightly. These were members of various families. They had relatives, they had children, and it's only right for us to honor them as we speak about the tragedy with a moment of silence, please. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank you. We are still coming to the end of this session, but we, of course, as you're all aware, are also in the habit of receiving question and answer, because whatever has been shared, of course, has feedback. We would like to encourage those that are in the house here to either ask their questions or share some comments, which is very important. And we would like to encourage the members online, of course, as well, to share their questions or comments for that matter, because that is also going to help us either for record purposes, but also for purposes of engaging the public. So please, if you have a question in the house, kindly feel free to reach out, raise your hand so that we can hear you out. Yes, Mr. Malay, you're very welcome.
Thank you. I have to come here at this podium of Radical Nuba. Some people think I work here. I take long to come. My name is Malema Vidizi. Welcome, Marion Chirabo. I think I've never met you, but I've been seeing your posters. The Treasurer Governor, Musoke Thaddeus, and the envoy for the president. Me, I'm a strategic envoy. I don't know about you. Permanent envoy. A few points to make, and let me start with a quotation from Kenya Supreme Court. And this is important for Thaddeus Musoke. The Supreme Court of Kenya in Odinga versus Raila, in Raila versus Uhuru, they said in one paragraph that rule of law is the heritage of mankind. A salutary reminder that where law ends, tyranny begins. And even the best rulers have fallen prey to the cruel desires of naked power. I picked that in my head. Why? Because the Judge Maraga and others were telling you that rule of law, however much you undermine it, it is the scent of mankind. Mankind was had almost reached a level of extinction until they brought laws that if you are not to get depleted, let us do this way, let us do this way, let us do this way. Now I'm disappointed in Musoke you that 4 people officially died. So when people die, what do we do normally? At your local village, people have died. What do you do? Apart from mourning, you arrest people. That's the first thing. You arrest whoever was around. If it is a man in the house, you first arrest the wife. After she has explained that police, then you say, no, you can't attend the burial. If it is, you arrest people. But where people die, where Nsubuga dies, Namsoke dies, Kabanda dies, and you people take us into stories, you see, the cases, is it what and what? I mean, when people died, whom have you arrested? So it is business as normal that we have been allowed to extinct, to die, and there is no accountability. All you do is to get many soldiers, deploy them, let Nabanja come, go down into the trench and say, now construction is ongoing. And speak like the Womsoka you are speaking. You see, some things, some channels were blocked. You see, the plans of the buildings were also not good. I see, that's how down we have sunk. And the question is it sustainable? The answer is no, you cannot keep killing us, because killing comes in many ways. You may not shoot me, but you may create a situation where I have to die. So we are being killed, and why rule of law is important, and why I was siding with Chirabo that our problem is impunity and lack of rule of law. Right now, Chigundo and others would be in jail if the state was serious. May I have a private case against Chigundo at LDC Court, criminal case 581, under the National Environment Act. You have been blaming NEMA cases and whoever, but NEMA never gave a certificate, an environmental impact assessment certificate. I read a document issued by, who is the new AD of NEMA? Balirega Akankwasa. Balirega has been so careful. In the document he said, comply with the conditions I've given you, after which you will come back. and he makes it clear that this is not a certificate, this is not a clearance, go and comply. And he gave him a schedule of what to do. The same with Buzeki. I think Buzeki knows the consequence. First, which Seka first. I don't know if she's lucky because she has been negligent. I was just asking, why do you write a letter saying that, please come and obtain a plan? But in the same way, it's like you are saying someone should continue constructing. That letter shows a lot of incompetence on the side of Buzeki. Because the law is clear. No plan, no construction. Now you say, but you see, do this and this. Secondly, when someone takes up public land, KCC land, a land grabber comes. How do you write a land grabber that you can continue constructing? And then you say you can come and get a lease. So all these are a point. You are talking about a Gali. Even Jurua, you are talking about insecurity. Now all these are weakening defenses by land grabbers and lawless people. If insecurity was a point to derogate environment, why do we have a game park in Nairobi? Nairobi is a capital city, it's a regional city, but we have a game park in the city. Don't you think there are thieves there? Are you going to cut down the forest? Do you know why in Arua there is a forest? A forest within the Arua municipality. Yes. Kasiano Wadu and other MPs had eaten some money and they were saying that it should be cut down. They came to parliament, they said the forest should be cut down because there is insecurity. This minister, he comes from Sebei, of environment. He told them, but I'm in charge of NEMA. I mean environment. I've not seen any problem with the forest. So how can you bring a resolution? So point is, environmental protection, as Semakada said in his statement, is about survival. It's about survival. It's not about convenience. So you cannot tell us that because there is a drainage system where people are saved from dying, that there are some guard. Why don't you deploy police there? So it means that it is clear that you leave it in security there so that you can get an excuse to come and grab our heritage. So those stories, then people who are blaming KCCA for non-implemented supervision, how do you supervise something you never approved? Now, just imagine an engineer going to that trench. Now, what plan is he going to be looking at? Because supervision is that you look at the plan vis-a-vis the actual construction. You ask, what was it? What is here? So the man says, I've not approved any plan. I'm not approving. But somehow, because of political expediency, Buzeki writes some letter. You must do this, but come and get a plan. Because Buzeki knows the president of Okero. I don't remember the second name of the public health director, Daniel. Okero was charged at Kasangati. Now, what solved the Okero? He had a lot of letters. You could always write, please, Chitez is dangerous. Executive director, Chitez is becoming a problem. So I think Okero had about 10 letters. So later, when he started telling the people, why don't you leave me? Then they said, but how do you leave? He said, but I kept writing. Finally, he was not committed. When the time came for committing them to High Court, they left him out. I think Buzeki is trying to copy, but of course, she has already a problem because she visited the thing and everything is legal and it's going on. But I think Buzeki must know what Marion was wrong about. We have decisions here. Leave alone the Constitution Article 99 makes it clear that a president of Uganda has no powers to direct a public body to disobey the law. And the purpose of Article 99 in making that was not to create an amin. We never wanted the president to rule by a decree. And there's a decision of Nakasero market vendors, I think. The Court of Appeal is saying that a presidential directive has no force of law. Why? Because we could get a dictator. Now, these Buzekis are falling into a trap under which Iduma Kubia fell into, Saida Bomba fell into. Saida Bomba was convincing Parliament that Museveni had told him to pay Basajja Balaba. Over a fraudulent thing, of course, he had forged a court order, what and what, Sema can litigate all the things. So the committee was telling her, can you show us the letter? Saida Bomba was saying, no, you called him in the morning. They told her, madam, we cannot help you. The same applied to Kujidu Makubia. they are going to be censored, they resigned. That's how they stopped being ministers. So, the Buzakis of this time, the Nabanjas, they think they are safe. When you read that letter, this is a tactician who has been here for long, and he knows how to avoid legal challenges and criminal. With that letter, you cannot charge him 7 of any crime, even if he was not still ruling us. He says, I've seen a golden plan, prime minister. Can you please do something? Now, it goes back to Buzeki and others, and this is what I am warning them, that when you're in those public offices, we gave you the laws for which to use. You have the KCC Act, you have the Constitution, you have the Physical Planning Act, you have everything. Now, they tell you that there's a directive, there's a directive, there's a directive. Did that directive say that let this guy construct, for example? No. And I know of many directives where public servants have refused. They say, but this is illegal, I cannot own it. Because remember, this man who is writing a directive is immune. And that's why he keeps in power, to remain immune. But you are not immune. It goes back to, again, compensation. Nagenda. It pains me when you front compensation as a main concern. These traders are able people. You did not help them set up their businesses. So why don't you put enough energy on giving them justice? You see, when you lose your father by murder, do you first ask for compensation? Tata wange yafudde nnyo bampeyo kasente. You first ask that, who killed my father? Can they face justice? Musoke, how many times are you going to go to Museveni to compensate traders? Every rain season? Because I just understand these chibos. Let them be compensated. So, do you mean that you go there in October beginning, in November middle, every time, please help us? And where is the money? You are indebted as a country. So I think, why don't we? Harm has compromised each and every person almost. Last time the reporter was writing that no journalist covered the situation. Why? They are all sitting there at the stadium buying Mugagga gena bawa account. So that's, we are bringing a series of compensation. And some things are not I've dealt with Kirabo. Alan Luanga, comrade. Is this still online? Yes. Alan.
I'm online. I'm still here, Sebo.
Alan,
comrade.
You are spreading
Rule of law champion.
You are spreading some dangerous propaganda here. That why should an MP from Kazo, Maracha, be concerned with issues of Kampala? I think that is dangerous and unlawful. The role of an MP, if properly elected and in a functional parliament, is oversight. And that oversight is countrywide. That's why it goes to parliament. Now, for you to say that it should be Kampala MPs talk about matters of Kampala, even if it was not a capital city, that is demeaning and undermining of the people from other parts of the country. Because if they come to parliament to legislate, and legislation, even in a proper parliament, you need the numbers. So do you mean that when matters of Kampala come, it should be only in Sereko, Segirinya, Narukola, and others to sit there and say, now this is right? I think that's where I disagreed with you, actually. Otherwise, thank you so much, and let's keep engaging, so that, because with harm, having worked with everyone, and these are official things. When you go to New Vision, for example, New Vision says they have a memorandum of understanding with Harm Group that they are working together. So when you have a media house having a permanent, not an advert, but a memorandum that we shall never attack you, so how will Ugandans understand the criminality is being committed by that person? The same applies now. Just imagine the entire New Vision group, Wokede, what and what, all those, they have a memorandum. So it's a cartel. We are dealing with a cartel. Now, this cartel is meant on grabbing public land. You just follow up Ham. Ham is a person known to, I think he is known to some of us. But this is a criminality. This is a harm who comes and says, first of all, he makes a lot of propaganda. Omugagga, omugagga, omugagga. Now, every time you hear omugagga being talked about, just know he's not a mugagga. But he's a fraud, yes. No. We know the bagagga. Nagenda knows the bagagga. The bagagga down there. They don't even want to be called names. They don't want even to be called names. Someone is there, he has his money, he says, no, I'm just here. Sometimes you ask, but when you see a lot of propaganda, omugagga, now that propaganda comes with land grabbing and abuse of authority. So this mugagga grabs some land at Makerere, a road reserve, plus some land that belongs to Makerere University, something. He constructs a building. Actually, when KCC wanted to improve that road to Sapporo, it was supposed to demolish some of the building. Makerere University ended up losing land on the upper side. That's the Mugagga. The Mugagga went to Nakivubo Stadium. That stadium, the act is called Nakivubo War Memorial Stadium. It was constructed as a memorial for World War II veterans. So they said, let's construct. And they created actually trust. The trust is clear. The purpose of the trust is sports. Mugagga goes there somehow. The traders' properties were burnt around Parkyard about 5 times. Then the Mugagga constructs something. The Mugagga constructs on Emwala. Is it Jugula? It floods. They sanction charges against the Mugagga. Somehow the Mugagga. But everywhere you go, Mugagga, Gambia, Mugagga harm. Before we know, the Mugagga is taking away the entire ecosystem of ours down there. And as Musoko was saying, and that's another problem I had with you, that you are saying, since people are paying already, can't we now see how we can keep developing? But we're exchanging our survival for money. We cannot trade our survival for money. We are saying if that channel is not working, we are dying, and we have died. So the Mugagga is constructing some shops there. Every car shop is 5 million a month. Now 5 million a month is telling you, if you come and you are willing to pay a year, I'm giving you a discount of 2 months. So the Mugagga is collecting 50 million if you want to take a shop. Maybe I think to help him also construct more others. As he's collecting that money, other traders are losing business and people are dying. Those are not the bagaggas of the world. Those are crooks, they are criminals, they ought to be arrested. The real bagaggas go and buy properties. I think Ntake, what wetland has Ntake built in? Do you have doubt that Ntake is a Mugagga? Has he been on the media saying that, do you see the house I have? I have these vehicles. These are my 2 wives. Thank you so much, Governor.
Very, very enthusiastic, interesting, factual, and also realistic. One of the most intriguing submissions from Mr. Malema. A round of applause to him. He has spoken exactly what needs to be heard. Of course, not taking anything away from the previous discussant. And we thank you, really, Mr. Malay. You've been a friend of ours also because of reality, and the Radical New Bar really, really appreciates you. Thank you so much. We are still in the same mood of question and answer. We have a comment from the gentleman behind, raise his hand before you. I would just want you to come after. Kindly approach. You mention your name, where you're coming from, and kindly also make it short because we've run out of time. Would like to excuse the panelists and the members so as to go for other business. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Luke Kamoga. I'm a member at AdLegal. AdLegal is a consumer protection advocacy entity. I came here because when I saw the topic, it was quite touching, and it's not only for what has happened today, but a continuous kind of conversation. We are fortunate as Adligo that we've, in several cases, interacted with the traders downtown and other people who consume other kind of services, which are goods and everything. But what stands out, and I want to thank everyone who has talked. Many people have talked about facts, but there are some people also who are distant from the facts and what the reality of this country is. When you interact most of these policymakers, regulators, and government entities, one thing that will shock you is the fact that they will even question you that, Mr. Luke, as Adligo, why are you talking about this that even the people you're concerned about don't even understand? You're talking about Nakivubo channel, the consequences that shall come with the development, the procedures that are supposed to be followed, and everything. And the policymaker, if they are not elected people, the technocrats, the regulators will ask you, but the traders you're fighting for are not even aware of this. Why are you fighting for them? And on several occasions, we've had to face them with wrath, and we've asked them, your role as a regulator or as a policy maker or as a policy implementer is not to implement policies or make policies or regulate things that the public is only aware of, but even those that they are not aware of, but actually touch their what? Their lives. Now, when you look at the challenge we are facing today, the Nakivubo channel, it's related with so many other challenges. Maybe it's talked about the construction of the now called Ham Stadium. That stadium was a war memorial stadium, and the laws and the trust and everything is there. Right now, I want anyone to come here and say that they are aware of the profit and cost sharing implications or things that are concerned or related to Nakivubo Stadium. Right now, no one knows. When this entire construction started, the Lord Mayor came out. Of course, you have to be mindful about the fact that the traders and the people who survive within Kampala, few of them are actually aware of their rights, and few of them are aware of the right steps that are supposed to be taken when certain things or developments are being introduced. Now, we have one challenge that Kampala, after the enactment of the KCC Act, there emerged three sections. The political wing, which is headed by the Lord Mayor and the councillors. We have the technical wing, which is headed by the ED and his technocrats. We then have the ministry. Now, the challenge is that the ministry, I won't use the word connived, but it was intertwined with the technical wing. The council is a policymaker, forwards the policies it has made to the technical wing for implementation, and then gets support from the ministry. When the construction started, the Lord Mayor echoed out certain key aspects that had to be taken into account before anything starts. Yes, people will seek exoneration saying that we didn't approve, we couldn't follow what we didn't approve. But me, I'm a resident of where Hamis Chigundu stays in Kauku, Gaba Road, and I'm in his vicinity. In the year 2021, people had encroached on wetlands, right from Munyonyo, Gaba, Kauku, Ruzira, and NEMA started visiting these respective areas. When it reached Munyonyo, round about all of you know where Munyonyo is. Now, after the junction where they call Cape, there is a so-called Mugago also. Now, NEMA stopped from there. But it had started demolishing structures that had been constructed right from Salama, this side of Busabala, and all that. But they stopped there. Now, when you go to Kauku, you will find that the entire lake area, lake shore has been encroached on. by the so-called Wagaga, right from Gaba Beach House, Kauku, up to Hamis Chigundu's area. The roads have been destroyed because of these heavy vehicles. I personally, through our company, Adligo, last year when he started, of course, pouring water into the lake, we wrote, and before we could even serve him and his lawyers, he had gotten concerns from citizens whose structures were almost getting destroyed because of this, and he stopped temporarily. He has resumed. Now, the Lord Mayor told these people that the people we are dealing with are not actual developers. They are land grabbers, and they are, not to use the word fraud, but they are not following what is supposed to be followed. Of course, there were some master plans that had been published on social media, X and everywhere, and people were so excited. Not knowing, no, they were not approved plan, but little did the people know that even these plans have ever been published. When they were developing this junction here during Jennifer Musi's time, this one here opposite Watoto, you who follow events, I don't know how much that site costed. It costed billions, and who has ever used it apart from the recent times when it has been somehow renovated? No one. But people again confronted political leaders, policymakers, that you guys are against development and what and what. The very traders who are going to be affected by the construction of this Nakivubo channel had their voices raised against the Lord Mayor and his people. That Lukwago, you were against each and every development, but we shall all witness that the Lord Mayor has not been a prophet of doom, but actually he has been a prophet of truth. Whatever he has talked about, and these are things that actually supposed to be triggering our minds as people. Now, the traders said you are against development. Yes? And in 1 week after Hamis Chigundu constructing his, putting the ribat, the traders had no routes, had no ways into their shops. The traders at Ham Shopping Grounds and the City Mall, and this one, is it Sekayuba what? Seka whatever, started complaining that we don't have what? Pathways into our shops. Please, can you remove your iron sheets? But the constructions are ongoing. Now, if the constructions were not approved, yes, we are saying they were not approved, and Mabilis wants to exonerate the technical wing and the EDIS team and the NEMA team and the Ministry of Health on grounds that they could not inspect or supervise what they didn't approve. Now, let me tell you, if a construction is being made and there is no approval, KCC with its technical engineers and NEMA, they will come and do what? And demolish. You get? Now, we are not exonerating anyone because for me I didn't allow, I didn't what? When the plans, the unapproved plans were published on social media, even academicians at Makerere University came out and started offering free advisory services on how best the Kampala Metropolitan Drainage Master Plan could be implemented without necessarily endangering the ecosystem and without endangering the economic activities that are actually taking place in Kampala. They offered their advice, and it went viral, but no one was concerned. And within 1 week, I want to tell you that the so-called published plans had been deviated from. Now, that is on the constructions. There is another pertinent issue that is being raised, and I think many people are concerned about. How are traders going to be compensated? How are traders are going to deal with this and everything? But I also want to, and it's going to be in a form of a question and something to think about by everyone, that when we talk about now compensation, the loss has occurred, and we've seen where the loss has come from. When the Honorable Prime Minister and his team visited Nakivubo channel, mind you, it has ever rained when I'm in Kampala. It was at Mutasa Kafero. And the water that comes from Nakasero Hill parliamentary side and Namirembe can even take a vehicle. Now that is the level or intensity of water flow that you want to channel into a culvert. The water that enters Nakivubo's channel is not from a stream like a lake. The water enters the channel from the surface and from anywhere. So, if you've ever used a water tap, even if it's flowing slowly and you dare to touch it like this, you will see the pressure with which water will come. Now that's Nakivubo channel. The moment you try to even block a single meter of the water flow, you will see the results. Now, this is what is affecting the traders. Now, we are talking about compensation and all that. But I've surely, we've all missed that the Kasita boss is not with us. It's unfortunate. I've been informed he was arrested yesterday. Yes. But the Kasita team is a union of traders. Traders went to KCC and the concerns they were raising and the reasons why I think they may be even hesitant to go to court or seek procedural and remedies is because most of them may be kicked out by technical fouls. Even the Lord Mayor echoed it that you have an entire flow being, the shops being owned or leased by three people. One person has 10 shops and he separates them out. Has anyone looked, I happen to own a shop in downtown. Of course, I wasn't affected. I'm at the upper side of Chisenyi. Has anyone ever looked at the tenants agreements that these traders have? Are they viable at this time when you're seeking compensation? When you seek compensation, the person will tell you that, who am I known and recognized? Tenants. Do I also allow trespassers who keep their property there? Yeah? So, and this is the responsibility of Kasita, because it's an organization, that is a union that is supposed to organize these traders, advise them on best practices, on legal aspects, and I don't know whether or not Kasita has these structures. Yes? We are starting a business. My hardly got 100 million to be invested in downtown. I just don't come. And me, as an ordinary citizen from Rwemiyaga, may not understand the legal implications or legal challenges I may face, but my trade union is actually supposed to be advising me on all these. And when I get a shop, do I register? Then the insurance policies and everything can now follow. But there are some critical things that we cannot even go without talking. Now, Mabilis has pointed it out that we also have, the challenge we have is that we have the so-called mafias who operate under the state. We can avoid those by following the right channels. We have challenges. For you, you're talking about flood right now, but we have challenges to do with water, we have challenges to do with the electricity bills, and traders. We are soon engaging Kasita on this. And I know you people who deal with traders, you know how electricity is dealt with, the electricity bills, the bills you pay, garbage collection, what. All this extortion is being orchestrated by landlords. And who is there to care for the common trader? Unless when such an incident happens and they now start running on their wings. But should we run on our wings all the time? Is it sustainable? No, it's not. We can never run to the State House for handouts all the time. It's going to rain from now until the year ends. Where are we going to be? Compensation should be talked about together with long-term standing remedies and policies. And we as people, we should, I'm so dismayed to the fact that right now as Ugandans, we are being forced to act by nature. Even before we bring in the law, I'm a lawyer, but before I invoke the law, I first ask, what does conscience dictate? When we run out of conscience, we are now forced to act by the law. The law has now failed. We are now being compelled to act by nature. That one is a very terrible state to be in as Ugandans and Kampala residents. Thank you so much. We can think about the entire discussion and it can go on and on. Thank you so much.
I just want to give you, are you writing? Ad ligo. You said ad ligo. You write this case when they challenge you that you are not part of them. It is called Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment, Vice Attorney General. It's miscellaneous cause number 100 of 2004. No, there's just, it was by Opia already. The judge, you look at page, I think 6, the judge cited Article 50, and he said that the importance of the above law is that it allows any individual or organization to protect the rights of another, even though that individual is not suffering the injury complained of or does not know what he is suffering from the alleged injury. To put it in the biblical sense, the article makes all us our brother keeper. In the sense, it gives the power to speak for those who cannot speak for their rights due to ignorance, poverty, or apathy. In that regard, I cannot hide any pride to say that our constitution is among the best the world over, because it emphasizes the point that violation of any human rights or fundamental rights of one person is a violation of the right of all. This is 2004. So when they threaten you, they are all decisions which are clear on our duty to, as citizens, to keep on fighting.
Thank you so much. Very mind-boggling, but we have to run from here. We're going to receive a few comments from here, another there, 2 online. Kindly pardon us as we wrap this up. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Morris Okiria Kokolioko Agi. We thank the Radical Nuba so much for this opportunity. Councillor Isaac Semakade, we thank you so much for such an idea. I hope Mr. Luanga Alan is still online. I would love to comment on something he said. He said that for him, at such a point in time, he doesn't look at the courts as a source of remedy. It hit me so bad when he said it. Ideally, he is inviting us into resigning and giving up on what we, and giving up on the rule of law. I get so much inspired by Council Malema Vidizi. So when he say that for him he doesn't look at courts as he has, ideally he has resigned and he is inviting us to resign with him. The law is our fortress, and for as long as those judges, for as long as those judicial officers receive money, receive salary from our taxes, hardly paid, we will not give them chance to breathe. We shall knock on their doors, we shall bang their doors, and they might sleep, they might make judgments on calls and all those things, but the time for reckoning will come. Secondly, Dr. Thaddeus, this comment is for you. Speak truth to power. The truth sets us free. I hope that when you get chance to speak to the nation in the light of you representing the traders, please say that harm is evil. Say it loudly, that harm is evil. On his head is the blood of those that are dead and those that are yet to die. Please say it loudly with your chest high up. I use this chance to equally call out harm. Harm, you're evil. You're killing people. Who is to blame? We shall blame you. And we are coming for you as the Radical New Bar. Yes. Lastly, the Radical New Bar has set such a precedent. I would love to use this occasion to also invite other professional bodies. We know that we have the Society of Engineers, Society of Architects. I think they have equally resigned. We are at such a point where impunity is so thick that we have lost the soul of this nation. Our spirits are so crushed that we even fear to speak of the simplest of things. A presidential directive just like that and has the force of law. Let's not give up on this nation, and we won't stop. Thank you so much. That's what I have to say.
One more question or comment, and then we can get to Alan. Alan, we have a question for you.
Thank you so much. I am Chimuli Mark Sempala. I am a lawyer, and I'm the General Secretary of the Youth League at NETA Uganda. I have some few comments. Number one, we have faulted KCCA, but there is an unavoidable fact that KCCA is not properly funded. There is a Kampala Drainage Master Plan, prepared in 2003, updated in 2016, but not implemented properly. And I think the challenge, one of the challenges, is actually funding. So it is my humble request that we come together and join KCCA in lobbying for more funding and looking for more sources of funding, most especially from government, having a collective voice to ensure that KCCA is properly funded and the Kampala Drainage Master Plan and other projects can go on to avoid such occurrences. That is comment number one. Number two, there is a National Building Review Board. That board was put in place by the Building Control Act of 2013. Under that act, Section 9 mandates that board to monitor buildings. It is my humble prayer that the National Building Review Board comes out and gives a report to the nation. How far have you gone with monitoring buildings? Why are people having shops in basements where they're supposed to be having parkings? So come out and tell us, address the nation on how far you've gone in monitoring buildings, what steps have you taken to avoid such occurrences, and at the end of the day, I think we shall have a better nation. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you so much for those questions, comments, and feedback, which for us defines the Radical New Bar, because, I mean, there's nothing as good as getting feedback on what you have tabled for the society and for the public to engage in. We are coming to the tail end of the function. We have a statement question as well coming in for Mr. Luanga from one Juma Farouk. Thank you so much, Juma, for reaching out unto us. We appreciate your engagement. Mr. Luanga talked about how court cases take so long. Some people even die before their cases are. Some media reports stating that those traders who suffered loss were located in the basement, yet the basement is meant for parking. Can those people get any help, yet they were already operating illegally? Such a nullity has to be looked into. Thank you so much, Susan. We're going to have parting shots from each of the panelists so as to take into consideration what is being stated. I hope you're following, please. Mr. Musisi Jim, thank you. He says, in 2025 alone, Kampala has flooded like 3 times. We are tired of the poor urban planning. Kampala is worse than a village. This is a very indicting statement, but of course, truth to power. the facts have to be spoken. We need to decolonize what people are addressing as construction and development. We are trying to demilitarize, we are trying to democratize, and we are trying to go digital as the 4 tenets of the radical new bar. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to stop here in as far as the feedback from the members online is concerned. We want to thank you so much for the opportunity to share with us. We're also not able, of course, to go any further because our time is fast spent. We'd like to thank those that are here with us physically. We'd like to thank the panelists, but we are going to take a minute each to share our parting shots before the treasurer will come and grace us with closing remarks so as to close this function. There's a microphone before you, if you don't mind activating it, so as to share your parting shots, so as to come to the close of the function. Thank you. In this order, it doesn't have an order, please, feel free.
Okay. Thank you once again, ULS, for the opportunity for us to discuss and get way forward. One, I would like to stand in the same spirit as Mr. Mabizi and Okia, that there needs to be consequences to actions. Harm needs to be held accountable, but not even only harm, but KCCA itself. And whoever is in charge, whether it's minister, whether it's who, and it's only us, the citizenry, that can do that. I will repeat again, let us not let this end up like how Chitezi ended up. If we have to use every tool that is available to us. If it is legal action, let us bombard those courts with as many lawsuits as possible. If it means that we are going out with the traders to protest, let us do that. But let this tragedy not go unanswered. Let there be an investigation into harm. The KCCA is claiming that he did these things illegally. These are criminal acts. He needs to be charged and he needs to be tried. He needs to be behind bars. He needs to answer for the blood that he has on his hands, but also for the billions and billions of property, loss of property that he has caused. So let us not have any excuses. I heard someone saying about traders in the basements, but they have a trading license. Either way. So there are cars, okay, so cars are still property. So cars are destroyed, yeah, people's lives are destroyed, then what? Because they were in a basement, that's a very flimsy, I think that's a very flimsy excuse. So for me personally as an individual, I am going to bring a suit in public interest. One, as a citizen of this country, but also fighting for the rights of every city dweller who dwells in Kampala. So I call upon the ULS to join us, and whoever thinks that, this is our time to take a stand, to join us in that public interest litigation suit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking that opportunity, as well as promising to the public. We shall be taking that after. Please proceed. The button. There. Turn on the button. Is it not working? Sorry. Please, sorry about that.
Technology has challenges.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, comrades, for the wonderful presentations and concerns. In a special way, I still think that, there was some accusation that I should rush to pinpoint harm, but we need facts. That's why during my presentation, I insisted that as NETA Uganda, in collaboration with other business associations, we resolved on hiring an independent consultant. We need facts. During COVID-19, we had issues with the court where we rushed to sue the landlords. And up to now, we are still paying the costs. So with courts, they are not so easy like some people think. We need facts. And that's why I think it will be so important to also to engage the Association of Engineers and stakeholders. I'm up also with another comrade here, and also calling upon Uganda Law Society to be part of the team to make sure that if all stakeholders move as a team, we can, I think, it is best to be applied. In a special way, I still insist that most of our comrades lost a lot of money. We cannot take the challenges of access to capital in Uganda lightly. Basing on the resolutions we have been, which we resolved on, the traders resolved to be compensated. So it's just not my idea, but after several engagements. So I'm representing the traders because of their concerns. Thank you, Isam.
Thank you so much. Ms. Namahe, do you have anything to say, please?
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Just briefly about public interest litigation.
Yes, please.
There's the traders under UNATA and CATA have already filed a case. I think they're headed by Katongole. That was 3 days ago. What I can do is have them get in touch with you and see how we can join efforts to make it better. Yeah, but most importantly, my message is Article 50 enjoins us to be our brother's keepers. So let's not look at this as a Basubuzi problem, or Kampala is our city and we can't keep shying away from these issues and take the elitist, route. We need to be part of it and get actual solutions because we're here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Alan, do we still have you online?
Yes, I'm here. There must be bottom-up accountability. And in this particular instance, we talk about from the actual responsibility of the trader. We are in a country where a lot has been left to chance. It's like having a home where your parents are absent parents. Either they are working so hard, or maybe they have a drug problem, they have an alcohol problem, so you sort of need to sober up and try and take responsibility, matters into your own hands. The people who have lost livelihoods are some of the people who are just hanging on to the bottom of the pyramid. Sometimes when a catastrophe like this happens, they actually fall to the ground and many of them might not recover. COVID in itself has taught us many things. I think one of the panelists just say, many lingering in the challenge. We didn't really get the respite that was required. So I feel that there has to be a polycentric way of dealing with this problem from all stakeholders. And finally, for me, we do not have a contract with the rain. We don't have a contract with God. We don't have a contract with clouds. To this day, in all the media and everything that I have seen, I am still yet to see a robust recovery plan, a robust emergency response plan for what is to come. Because maybe tonight we're going to get a storm that is twice as big. Maybe for the next 3 days we're going to get a storm back to back. Who has a plan whatsoever? Are we still leaving everything to chance? I really don't know. And it is just disheartening to be in such a situation of anxiety. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Allen, and thank you all, especially those that have taken time to be our panelists in light of those that we were unable to have with us. We don't want to take it lightly that you have been with us for over 2 hours, and it has been a very interactive discussion. But as we have found and realized, Kampala's floods are not merely a natural disaster as had wanted to be said, because this is a test of where laws are ignored, when wetlands are being traded, like has been stated here, for profit, when Bagaga turned to fraudsters, And when institutions are contradicting each other, we have also realized that at the end of the day, when elephants fight, the grass is suffering. We have noted also, as Mr. Luanga stated, and we have also heard from Mark and all the other individuals, that there is obviously a kind of way in which favoritism is trying to sell the city away. We'd like to hear from the treasurer as our last speaker, who is going to help us to close the function in representation of the governing council and the Radical New Bar, so that we could have closing remark and prayer, as well as departure at leisure, but we shall also be welcome to share a meal, as is the custom with the Radical New Bar. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me the treasurer of Uganda Law Society.
Thank you so much, everyone. Now it's coming to close to 4 hours since we began. I thank our visitors, the strategic envoy of the president, Mr. Malema Bidizi. Please a hand clap for Mr. Malema Bidizi. Of course, not to mention the likes of Rule Kamoga from AD Legal. Really appreciate it. I normally follow your legal insights that you normally publish. That just shows the big spirit you have for the nation. Chiria, Morris, Juma, Farouk, and many others. I can't mention the list. I've seen very many people have been actually engaging truthfully to whatever is happening. Of course, what is happening is res ipsa loquita. These facts speak for themselves. The truth is that people messed up, and people should realize that unless we divert from that route of messing up, we are really heading into bad times. We are losing lives, we are losing loved ones, people are losing property. This is so bad. For those of you who know what it means to make money, you make your hard-earned money, establish a business, go back to sleep only to wake up that your entire property has been destroyed by floods. Of course, today we are talking about floods, but we have been experiencing so many other issues. The fires have been talked about. Yeah, you wake up, your property has been burnt, not once. Yeah, it is so bad. It is really so hurting for people to now. Yeah, Madam Chirabo talked about a very important issue that I think the time for lamenting has to end. Yeah, the time for lamenting has to end. We need now to fight back. We need to fight back and ensure that we restore the glory of this nation. Unless we do that as a nation, I can assure you, Kampala City, like some of you have said, is no longer worth to be called Kampala City. We are in a city that is so dirty, there are no walkways. It's like as if they're only planning for people who have cars. Even the ones who have cars, the roads are full of potholes. They come up with ideas over here, network all over the roads, internet network. It happens for just one week, then they switch it off. I think there is much that needs to be done. There is much that needs to be done. This whole idea of blaming and blaming and blaming, of course we know who the perpetrators are. The perpetrators, we actually know who they are, and in fact, like we have said, matters are in courts of law. I really appreciate activists who actually take matters to courts of law. My colleague was asking me, is it worth taking these matters to courts of law? I hear propaganda by politicians who say it is worthless to take matters to courts of law. It is not worthless. Let's document this down. By taking these people to courts of law, we are documenting. The Uganda Law Society faces a similar scenario where funny people come up with funny allegations against the society. We do not fold our hands and say, okay, a certain judge, a certain judicial officer has said A, B, C, D, then we say what he has said, we take it as the gospel truth. We challenge, and that is what we encourage each and every person, that please challenge these people. I was talking to the DPC of Wandega and telling him that the police officers are always hiding in corners, especially in the roundabout of Mulago. They're hiding in that corner of Mulago, which doesn't have traffic. There is no traffic light for cars that are coming from Fairway. There is no traffic light. I had to take pictures and take them to the DPC. I took them to the OC. I told him they are stopping people and saying they are entering into the lane without following traffic lights, but there are no lights there. Those who are going to Mulago, there is a traffic light. Those who are going this side of former NBS, there are traffic lights. As you're coming to public service, there is no traffic light that determines the flow. Should we wait for students, people to be knocked down? Should we wait for cars to knock each other for people to understand that indeed we should plan for the city? Go to Rwanda. They have their own challenges. They just moved out of the war in 1994. But go to their city. It is planned. We can also plan for our city. We can make our city, I think, the best city in Africa. At least for now, we are lucky that our business, if you look at the economy is growing. At least that is something we should actually tap into to ensure that at the end of the day, once we follow whatever what Rnblive was saying, rule of law, if we actually follow the rule of law, honestly, we wouldn't be suffocating into whatever is happening. We talked about the issue of it being our mode of survival. Yeah, people think about those days when there were no laws. Someone annoys you, you kill him, then they also fight back, you kill each other. At the end of the day, that is what we call extinction. And I think extinction is what is happening to us now. Politically, we are undergoing what we call extinction. The political space is just narrowing every now and then. I believe if we allow political parties to operate freely, there are ideas that can actually change and shape this nation. Countries that came up with the term limits, that came up with age limits, it's not because that probably the current presidents then or the outgoing presidents were bad. No. But whenever you do what we call change, new ideas come in. Development comes in, what we call regional development. So we believe that unless we follow rule of law, politically we shall extinct. Economically we are going to extinct. People are actually losing their property. That is political extinction. Yeah? But why is it happening? Because people are not following the law. When it comes to, what hurts me, when it comes to a common person, a person who doesn't have that political muscle, who doesn't have that financial muscle, the law is so hard on them. Yeah, you see those agents of KCCA loitering around places where people are trying to construct houses to probably sleep and asking them, do you have the plan, etc. But when it comes to the people they call Mugaga, like Mabidi has said, there is no transparency. And yet sometimes people are dealing with the public land. Yeah? If it was maybe private land, okay, maybe confidentiality, etc. But this is public land. This is land that can be used for the general public, for the general good of the entire public. But there is no transparency. There is no transparency. We don't know whether there was a, yeah? In fact, now there are different stories. Some say the guy has a permit, others say the guy doesn't have a permit. No transparency. So at the end of the day, our survival is at stake. So I wouldn't want to say so much. Much has been said by the panelists. I thank you so much. The ones who are present here, Madam Chirabo, Mr. Thaudias, Madam Sheila, Thank you so much for delivering that speech for the president, the head of the bar. Thank you so much for delivering that speech. Of course, to our online panelists, Mr. Rwanga Alan, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know you have been following since we began from 10. This session began at 10 a.m. in the morning. And of course, our visitors, the organizers, and all the members who are present here physically, and those, of course, who are online. We thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Treasurer. We would like to thank the members. As has been said, nothing useful to add. Maybe we are all welcome to enjoy a meal with the Radical New Bar prepared for us, our guests, as well as physical. Mr. Alan Lwanga, we are going to send you emojis of lunch. We cannot thank you in any other way, but appreciate you and wish you the best in your endeavors, especially your political career, as well as your academic career, wherever you are. Thank you for really associating with us, standing with us and sharing your insights. We love you. We appreciate you. May the Lord be with you. We have also learned that the problems of Kampala can only be fought by us who live in Kampala. We're not going to get solutions from London. We shan't get solutions from the colonialists. It is our city, and it's upon us to look for the solutions. Public interest litigation, the Uganda Society is open. We have very, very, very astute brains and legalese to do what it takes, at least for posterity purposes, like one time Mr. Mavirize put it, for posterity, like the president puts it. It's about time. Otherwise, next year, next rainy season, we shall have this same discussion, and it will be upon us for not doing anything. This year, No, we pray against all that. It's threatening to rain. I'm sorry, and I'm not going to speak doom. Let us have this opportunity to share a picture for record purposes with the panelists up front this side, and eventually we shall have another session of picture taking with the members that wish to share with the panelists, and then we can close and move to the next agenda item. Mr. Alan, thank you. How I wish you could join us, but not. May God bless you. Enjoy. Thank you once again. God bless you till we meet again. Thank you to the Rule of Law Department and to the Secretariat for all that has been offered in leadership, guidance, and support. I am Robert Benon Jirua, Litigation Officer. God bless you.